You know, there is so much that each of us here in this place today could say about Gary. So many stories that we would love to tell, so many encounters that have meant so much to us. We could each come up here and talk about that. But the family has asked today for one of Gary's close friends, Chuck Stanley, to come forward and share on behalf of all of us.
Really honored today to be asked by the family to speak on behalf of my friend Gary. There are indeed many friends who could stand here just like me. He was such a special person to so many people, and he was a great and loyal friend to all. It's hard really to find the right words, but then again, maybe there are no right words. I stand here stunned to find myself in a place like this, to speak about my friend's life who's ended too soon and whose last days came much too quickly. Gary touched all of us in many different ways, and your presence here is testimony to that. I've been in church music all my life and been to many funerals. Few of them are like this, with such an outpouring of love. And most importantly, few of them have this kind of singing. Gary would be so pleased with the singing today. So I thought I would share a few moments from the final moments of Gary's life on this earth, because I think it speaks volumes of who he was and what his passions were. First, above all, Gary was dedicated to teaching music. Whether it was in the classroom or here at this church where he led the tenors, sang solos, and oftentimes conducted for me when I was not here. But clearly, his first love was his students. He would so often tell us about his choirs and how very proud he was of their accomplishments. And he was particularly proud of the piece that the choir will sing for you shortly. Gary loved his students so much that in between hospital stays, he took them pizza to celebrate their accomplishment. And we didn't hear just about your musical accomplishments. We also heard how the students called him Woody, because they thought he looked like the character from Toy Story. And I will tell you that Gary thought this was pretty funny. However, Gary didn't just look like Woody. He shared some of Woody's talents. In the movie, Woody sings a song called "You've Got a Friend in Me." The lyrics go like this: "You've got a friend in me when the road looks rough ahead, and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed. You just remember what your old pal said. You've got a friend in me." And the song closes with, "As the years go by, our friendships will never die." So like Gary. And we heard about the posters that the students made for him after his first day in the hospital, with his caricature of Woody and the many post-it notes students had placed on the poster with words of encouragement and love. We heard about how students gathered in a circle to pray for Gary while he was in the hospital, because they loved him so much, and he loved them. In the final hours of his life, as Gary drifted in and out of consciousness, at one point he woke up and he said, "I gotta get the kids on the bus. I gotta rehearse with the kids. Who's gonna rehearse with the kids?" The students were in his thoughts, even in the end. Gary was always the teacher, always the mentor. About 4 hours before Gary passed away, Gary suggested to his friends that were in the hospital, "Let's sing a song together." And so our friend Chucky said, "Sure, Gary, what shall we sing?" And so they sang, "The Lord bless you and keep you." And at the end, Chucky said to Gary, "Gary, how come you didn't sing with us?" Gary said, "It was so pretty. I just wanted to listen." And then Chucky and Veronica sang, "You'll Never Walk Alone." When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. You'll never walk alone. And after they finished, Gary looked over at Veronica. And if he had his glasses on, I'm sure he would have looked through the top of his glasses like he always did. Those of you who ever sung with Gary know that look. And he said to her, "You sang that in the wrong key." Always a teacher, always helping, always wanting the music to be better. Gary was also a man of deep faith. Before he died, he asked his parents to join him in singing "It Is Well With My Soul," which the choir just sang so beautifully. And let me say on behalf of the family, thank you to all who came today and early to make that anthem such a powerful statement of faith. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. Gary would have been so pleased with that rendition. Gary's faith was strong. It was well with his soul. And finally, Gary's mother tells me that in his last hours, he picked up the food menu that was on the side of his bed. And he held it up like a piece of music. And he began to conduct. So like Gary. And I imagine that he was hearing the sounds of that far-off heavenly choir. For today, that heavenly choir has a new tenor. And what a beautiful voice it is. I just hope that rehearsals in heaven go well. Because otherwise, Gary's likely to look up over his glasses and say, "You sang that in the wrong key." Farewell, my friend.